Equal Pay Day.
Let me introduce to you wonderful Dinah Spritzer, Ivana Šedivá, and Andrea Ferancová. Those women are going to talk about what's holding us back, barriers to our success, both the real one and the imagined one. So please write down your questions in the chat during discussion so I can pick and ladies can answer if there will be a space for it. So ladies, enjoy. And Dinah, I give you a word and it's all yours.
Thank you for the warm introduction and for the technical support. I'm extremely honored today to have this conversation about barriers, real and imagined, in women's lives with, I would say, two superstars on the Czech professional scene. First, I'd like to introduce Ivana Šedivá. And Ivana, she has at least 30 years of experience in top leadership positions at McDonald's, Tesco, Johnson & Johnson, and has been an advisor for a number of startups. She now helps with companies with their marketing and communication strategies, and she loves acting as a personal mentor and advisor. She can certainly tell you more about her life and what she has achieved. I know that Andrea would like to introduce herself. Andrea, the main thing I know about Andrea, besides the fact that she runs an investment company, which she can tell you about. She has 2 boys, 10 and 12, and a great husband, which I felt was an essential point to introduce you. Andrea, why don't you add a few words to that?
Yeah, thank you, Dinah. Good afternoon, ladies. As Dinah mentioned, I'm from the world of finance and investments. So I have more than 20 years of experience, maybe even 25. And I end up in this world actually by accident. And that's because 5 minutes from my university was a bank. And I went by around the bank. And I also went for an interview to an investment bank without knowing English with an American guy. And so I only memorized 3 sentences in English because I couldn't speak the language. And I was actually hired to the investment bank, I also became an owner at the age of 26, or co-owner of the investment bank. And I'm really convinced that all this happened because the name of this American was Angel. And he was truly an angel. And now I'm trying to be an angel myself to Central European entrepreneurs. So in ESPIRA Investments, we are like helping those entrepreneurs to help their interesting and colorful life stories.
For that, just a word about myself and what we're going to talk about. I too have been in the region working for more than 2 decades. I've been a journalist for the New York Times, USA Today, and the Jerusalem Post. Covered 3 wars in the former Yugoslavia. I was a war correspondent. I've chased down Angelina Jolie for The Sun. And I'm a professor of journalism at NYU, and I have my own company, Media Confident, which gives lessons to women in self-confidence, feedback, as well as writing without jargon, and many other relevant training topics. So I've been in Prague for 20 years, and I'm really excited to have an intercultural experience with these 2 incredible women. Let's kick it off. And we're talking about barriers. Some are related to gender and some are not. We can talk about that. But one of the things in this region that often comes up is we talk about a lot of the sort of external injustices that we're aware of. And today we're going to try to focus a little bit on some of the internal issues. there are studies that show that women have far less confidence than men in the workplace and are poor negotiators. But there are other aspects such as poor planning, lack of strategic vision, inability to manage up or manage down, poor interpersonal skills that afflict everyone, whether they're men or women. And I'd like to ask you, I'm going to start with you, Ivana, looking at your own career, what obstacles did you face that you felt you needed to overcome that were your own barriers, you know, not ones that were created externally? So Ivana, take it away.
Thank you, Dinah. And I will probably start with describing the other part of my life, which is the professional one. I am a mother. I'm also a grandmother, and I always had small kids around me. Currently, we are living in one household with my son and his family. And we are 7 people, starting from 3 years, 6 years, 16, my daughter, and then my daughter-in-law, and my son and my husband, plus 2 dogs and a parrot. So it's quite interesting experience as well. And I always had actually small children around me during my career. When my son was 4, I was actually completing the MBA on top of my PhD. I started my, let's say, corporate, global corporate career, and he was 4, and he was quite sick at certain point. And then once he was almost on his own feet, he was 15, I actually had my daughter. And once she was almost on her own feet and she was 10, the grandkids came. So my challenge actually always, because I like to think about it as a challenge rather than obstacle, you know, I mean, I think that I don't see life as full of obstacles, but as challenges and things to solve. And I'm always looking at it as solutions. So how can I solve that? You know, it's interesting. And how can I get the best out of it? And when I was thinking about the obstacles in my career, first I thought like, I didn't have any, right? And then I thought, okay, if I look at it through the prisma of challenges, which I overcame, so it's not an obstacle for me anymore. Then I said, yeah, there was a lot actually. and one was at the stage of my career when I actually was working locally in the board of Johnson & Johnson, responsible for Czech Republic and Slovakia. And I always was very vocal to my boss saying like, hey, I would be really interested to take on board an international position. But my husband, because of his business, cannot move. So I know that it sounds like mission impossible, but if you can think about something, just give it to me. I want it. Mm. And this probably was the first, what you could call an obstacle in my career, but by putting it on the plate, by naming it, by talking about it with my boss, I was able actually to ask for it. And surprise, surprise, after a certain period of time, it was not another day, it was like half a year, 1 year maybe after, he came back and he said, you know what, we want to pilot international position responsible for 450 million customers in the region, which never existed before. And because it's new, we actually are looking for somebody who can co-create it with us in very non-standard ways. So you would need to travel, but you can stay in Prague. And I said, yes, give me 1 day. And I came back. And the other obstacle was that I would need to travel. And my son was 10 at that time. And we had very strong relationship. And I just said to him, you know, I have this great offer. This is something what I would love to do. But you are so important to me. I want your approval. I want your support. And if you say that you need me here and that I should not travel, I mean, I will need to live with it, but you are so important to me. And guess what? He said, yeah, go for it. It's great. And so this way, I actually created the opportunity for me. And I also created the opportunity in my private life, which was very important for me, to be able to join it. And then because the setup was very interesting, it was overwhelming in terms of working hours. And a lot of things which we are actually putting as obstacles to ourselves are about saying yes to things and not asking for help. And this is what I learned as a next step after 4 months, when I found myself working 16 hours, being responsible for my previous position, because I still kept that, because I'm a strong woman, right? I will make it, guys. So I kept the previous position and I had the new position. And I ended up working like double hours. And when one morning I woke up and I read the email, which was full of mistake. And the email was sent at 12 o'clock at night. And I read it like 5 times. And at that time I said, Ivana, you have to do something with that. And I called my boss and I said, you know, not working for me. I'm so sorry I disappointed you. And he said, no, just tell me how it should look like. And they actually created the full-time job in that new international position for me. They rearranged the local business and I could actually dedicate all my time, quality time, but reasonable hours to my new job.
Right. So I'm right. I think it's really, really important because initially it was very interesting. What you spoke about, Ivana, was the external barriers that many of us as mothers or parents face. And then, or let's say challenges, thank you. And then you hit upon something that many of us do. I'm a strong woman. I'm not going to ask for help. And or I can do it all. And if I ask for help, if I say I can't do it, if I say no, I'm a bad person. I'm not supportive enough. So that was a really, really important lesson. Thank you. One which we really need to remind ourselves of, even no matter how old we are. Andrea, what about you? In terms of these kind of challenges, where do you feel the internal challenge, something that you felt you had to overcome in yourself? What have you seen?
Yeah, like when Ivana was talking just recently, it reminded me like I was actually going for the business trips, flying for the business trips with my 2 month or 3 months old son. So we were always, my son, 3 months old, and my mom, and we were always like traveling around Europe for all of these business trips around, which was like a, so I think I wouldn't, obviously children are like a blessing, and I think we can always arrange it somehow, even though it's hard. I have to, like, I started my career very young and I wasn't really thinking about it that much. It was just like, it went on its own. And I have to say, like, when I sold my stake in investment bank and we set up this investment private equity fund, ESPIRA Investments. So we actually, because this fund is actually investing in the diversity. So we like female entrepreneurs and we like diversity in the management of the companies where we invest. So we actually, someone pointed to the slide that I realized the Czech Republic was 96th in the world in economic women empowerment. And I was, you know, I'm in the business for like long time in the Czech Republic, and I was wondering, that's not possible. How is that possible? Like I wouldn't believe it. Yeah. So I never myself took that because I am a woman, I should be treated differently, or I should have a different options or different chances. So I never had it, and I don't know where is it coming from. It's just like I once met in London Stella Remington. Stella Remington was actually, she was the boss of the MI5. MI5, if you know James Bond and Lady M, so I think she was inspired by her. And she actually answered to this question, how as a woman you could actually survive in the world of spies. And she said, I never thought about it. Why I should have a different chances. So I think that, but if I answer your question, I think my obstacle maybe when I think about my career is that I really care about others. I want to please others. I can't say no, and now it's a killer with the kids because I can't say no. So it's just like that's what I think. Sometimes you need to think what you want for you, what's the goal, and not to like live your life by pleasing others. Which I think through my career, I will just keep doing it, which I think. Was something what was to a certain extent obstacle in certain ways. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's quite interesting because you and Ivana, although you've had different paths, come to the same conclusion that it's really important to be able to step back and say, I'm still a great person, even if I say no, even if I can't do this. So I think one could argue whether that is a trait unique to women. I feel that it is a unique characteristic of women, and I'm glad you brought it up. When you work with people you're mentoring or people you're considering investing in or coworkers over time, what kind of, again, internal challenges have you seen? And I specifically mention internal because we could speak for 3 hours about whether we agree or not that being a woman has difficult external challenges, whether we feel people discriminate, whether we feel laws are fair, but that's not really the purpose of the discussion. It's more what women put in front of us. So one thing we can conclude is that we need to understand boundaries and limits and ask for help, but there are other potential issues. I brought up lack of confidence. It could be lack of planning, lack of strategic vision. And it could be not related to gender at all. But with the women that you speak with as coworkers, as mentorees, what do you feel is one of the most common challenges that they face, and how do you suggest they overcome it? I'll go backwards now. So Andrea, that question is for you, and then we'll go to Ivana. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think and I was talking about it during my mentoring programs. I think it's very important to know who I am. Yeah. So, and obviously when I was 26 years old, I didn't know. Yeah. I was managing the people and I couldn't, I didn't think about it, that I have no idea how to manage people and I thought it's not a big deal. Yeah. So it's just obviously it's a different story, but with the experience, I learned that it's not that easy and that it's maybe good not to invent everything by yourself and maybe to have a look and study and to look on something what is already invented and I don't have to come with my own way. So in my case, I am more of the creative, strategic, let's say more creative person, and that means less organized. Yeah. So I am able to change plan minute before it's happening. Yeah. So I'm able to reorganize everything in a short period of time, which is a great advantage to the business. You can imagine certain things how you can do it, but obviously for some people who are organized and who don't like those kind of the people, it's a challenge. Yeah. And sometimes I have a problem to do that. And it took me years and years to realize that maybe some of the problems with my colleagues could be caused because they are very organized. So I think it's very important to understand who I am, and then, then it's easier to overcome this obstacle and to somehow accept it at the same time. Yeah. So I'm like that, and maybe I can improve in a certain things, but still that's I am. There's no point to change it or to be someone else. Yeah. So.
Myself, that's quite interesting. And do you, when you're working with someone, do you warn them? Do you say, hey, this is my style, and what's your style, and how do you, or do you just find out as you go along?
So now these days, often when we, let's say, getting new people, they're going through assessments. So you little bit, from these assessments of the personality, who these people are, and you can actually find what are the different So I'm really mindful now. I'm trying to be mindful of other people, yeah? So I try to understand what is for them important and what is really important, that you take their view into consideration, yeah? Because the whole point is you don't want to have a team of people of the same type of the person. You need complementary skills. So it's very important that you have those complementary skills and you listen to them, yeah? Because their opinion is different. They have a different view. And so, yeah, I do warn them sometimes, but I try to be mindful and to think what's their approach, yeah. And when I go to the meeting, I'm often saying, be quiet and don't say anything at least for 15 minutes.
Thank you, Andrea. I think you're talking about building diverse teams and also realizing it takes a certain level of maturity to realize, hey, it's really great to work with someone who's not like me, and that's going to benefit me. So that's something maybe that mentorees and people just starting out can learn, but I think everybody can learn that. Ivana, I'm very curious to hear from you in terms of these kinds of challenges that you have seen among women you mentor, women you work with, and what you feel they need to overcome. What are some of the internal obstacles you see and how you help them overcome them? Take it away.
Yeah, there is a lot actually, but I would sign off totally what Andrea just said. To me, it boils down to not necessarily self-confidence. In English, it's self-confidence, but in Czech, we say sebevědomí, which is self-awareness. And only when you have self-awareness, you can be confident in what you are doing. And you can decompose actually the self-awareness into multiple elements and even structure it nicely. But I will just touch few of those, not the complete thing that I could speak about it. Like next week, I have a lecture about it for 2 hours, you know, just about this topic. So please stop me. Yeah? But the first one is what Andrea was talking about. You know, take whatever typology, whatever tool you have. There is some beautiful thing which is called talent dynamics, which is simple, easy, and you take somebody to work with you, your mentor. It's very beautiful. You understand when you are in the flow, where you bring value and how actually you bring value to the world, and to where you are losing. You know, when you are losing your energy actually, on which types of tasks. So you can actually better be aware of what value are you bringing. So that's first thing. The second thing is understanding why you are here and what you are trying to achieve. I am marketeer by 30 years experience, and it's back to the, you know, with any brand or any business, we start with, okay, what do we stand for? Why are we doing that? What is our strategy? You know, who is our audience? What is our tactics? Yet in our personal life, we don't do it. Now, we don't need to call it this way, but we know to do it actually for our business. And it's really worthwhile to do simple things like saying, okay, what is my vision board? What are my dreams? What do I want to become? How do I want to see my life 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when I turn back, looking backwards? What do I want to say about my life? And by using, again, you can have tools, you can do it intuitively, doesn't matter, but just think about yourself, about a very important being which brings unique value to the world. And typically women do not have this formalized, even men, you know, don't worry, even men. But once I understand, once the mentees are able to understand better what are their passions, what are their dreams, where do they want to be, it brings them extreme clarity in terms of what is for them and what is not for them. So it's much easier to say yes, and it's much easier to say no. And it's much easier actually to put even extreme effort to certain things, or to say, thank you very much, next. So this is what I see very often, that it's very helpful to work on the self-confidence through self-awareness. The other element, since we are here on the Equal Pay Day, I think is something what I would call a male and female principle, archetype, or energy, which helps a lot actually to understand the dynamics in the society or in the community or in the workspace. And these things actually, just by those three areas, it's very helpful for mentees to raise their self-confidence and to be able to start saying, overcome the obstacles actually, and take the obstacles rather as challenges. Because then it helps them to ask for things. They often don't know how to ask for things, how to request things. It often helps them to be heard, to put their argument or their proposal in a way which helps them to be heard, and so on. I could speak about it for hours, so, and you don't want it.
Right. Well, maybe the next time we can when we can have a virtual coffee. Thank you very much, Ivana. Okay, we're going to move on. Hopefully, get at least slightly controversial. Wake us all up. We'll see. If I read one more post on LinkedIn about leadership, I might explode. Really, we all know that people can be brilliant and just not great leaders. Have you seen this? And what do you think Czech women, specifically, if something like that exists, need to learn most about leadership? And just as an example, just to provoke everyone, I know of a head of human resources who worked with a woman, a consultant, getting the consultant on board in a project. And she worked with her and she worked with her. And then the consultant did the meeting with the employees and really worked very, very hard to get constant feedback during the process. And after the presentation, the head of human resources for this company said to the consultant, and they're both Czech, so how do you think you did? She said this to the consultant, and the consultant said, I think it went pretty well. And the person who was the director of HR said, well, I think you were terrible. And I asked the consultant when she said that, what did you feel? And she said, well, we're very direct here. And they had a disagreement and they talked about it, but it was very clear to me that the consultant or the head of HR did not make things clear. Her expectations were not set properly. And there was quite a miscommunication. So I thought, gee, maybe communication skills to extrapolate from this or something in leadership here that are not emphasized enough. I've been here 20 years and I will be controversial. I think Americans and sometimes spend a lot more time on learning how to present themselves verbally than we do in this region. Of course, we could have a lot more self-awareness and a little less self-confidence, but that's another topic. So with that, let's go back to that question about leadership. What do Czech women need to learn about leadership? Andrea, take it away.
Well, I actually, Dinah, I have to say I have a slightly different view. I'm like a big supporter of this word. I like the word leadership and I am a big believer in it. And I think actually for women, I think time is coming because I think leadership in the past was slightly different, but now you have to take into the consideration many stakeholders. The companies are looking on the long-term value. You need the empathy to look on the things from a different perspective. And that's, I think women, they're naturally stronger in. So I think future-wise, and you can see that, yeah, like yesterday there was this, I don't know whether you have seen it, but it came via like a different media. So when you look at the female leaders and male leaders these days with the coronavirus, you can see that the female leaders are performing much better, yeah? But I see leadership, not just like you have to be Angela Merkel or you have to be on the top of the company. I see leadership in all of the, you can be a great leader as a mom doing something special with your kids, yeah? Or you can be a great leader, you're in the forest and you're picking up the garbage, yeah? So I think leadership is not, it can be about small adjustment, because the small adjustment can make a big difference. So I think you can be a leader on every single level. And when we're talking now, we touched diversity before a little bit, like within the teams. Like, and I have to mention this, the diversity, like with the leadership and that. So basically companies, if they have a diverse team, so that means gender diverse teams, that there is at least 25% of the women, they perform better by more than 50% on the profitability. So basically just being on the team as two women, it can be a big leadership difference. Yeah. So I look at the leadership from this broader perspective. And I think it's very important for today's world that basically women are becoming more, but it doesn't mean I need to get to the top position. It means that I'm going to do something different. And you can, I have been in the summer in the restaurants in Prague on Žov, in a really nice restaurant, and the owner is the lady. And you could see it, that the owner of the restaurant is the lady, that it has such a great, you know, like, and when you come to the company and you see that there is like a lady in the management, you see it by once you enter. So it's just like, and that's also leadership, that you have a nice office, yeah.
Well, thank you for speaking about the similarities between Andrea Merkel and a restaurant owner. I think actually it's a very good point. There are many, many ways to be a leader. Ivana, are there specific things, without stereotyping, that you feel Czech women need to learn about leadership?
Well, I think yes, definitely. And let me start from the beginning. And the beginning is our children. Because women, female leaders of the future, we have them at our homes now. They are maybe having online school right now. They are maybe at the secondary school, at the, we call it gymnasium, and so on. They are maybe at the universities. We all know that that the necessary change in our educational system is extremely slow and extremely necessary. Because I strongly believe that we as Czech women leaders are that way also because the way how we were raised and educated at schools. So I'm trying to do as much as I can, what is in my power, to at least mentor and influence young ladies around myself as soon as possible. I have a mentee which is 17 years old, 19 years old, and so on. This is the difference what we can do. And this is how we can actually make future female leaders. Now, answering your question is what the girls need to actually internalize much more compared to us, for instance, is I am responsible for my future. I am responsible and I have the power to change it. I am powerful. It's not a destiny. It's nothing like that. I can change whatever I want to. Today is the first day of the rest of my life, and I can do whatever I want to do with that. Now, I may not have the same starting position as somebody next to me, but I can still do much more than if I just give up. So I think just giving examples and empowering these young ladies and the girls, you know, that they can do almost whatever they want to, it will be like a huge move towards a brighter future. And it's not only this. Let us think again back to the school. How did we typically tend to behave like girls? You know what I didn't like about groups of girls? All that talking about the rest and being jealous and talking behind somebody's back. And honestly, I don't know whether it's a female thing and male thing, and I don't care, but it's definitely not healthy. And what I am finding out as a woman towards the end of the career, let's say, is that there is nothing more powerful than support of other women. But again, we don't have that heritage here in Czech Republic that women would support each other. And Dinah, one last sentence. I don't mean only the support which we are creating right here, but the support of the daughter, mother, grandmother, mother-in-law, across the ages, across the education, and forming the supportive group of people where famous 5 people who are better in something that I am, and they can kind of pull me with them, you know, and I can pull them or push them or whatever you want to call it, help them in another area.
Ivana, thank you very much. I just want to do a very quick follow-up to that because of what you said. It's a question that comes up with me as a journalism professor and a trainer. I'm always asked, hey, the new generation, is it completely different than the past generation when it comes to these sort of values? And I have mixed feelings about it because when I look at surveys of men and women today, young men and women who are in gymnasium, let's say, I see that they often have the values of their parents and grandparents, that it hasn't changed all that much in terms of who should do the housework, who's responsible for parenting. And there are surveys that show the Czech Republic has one of the highest percentages in Europe of people who feel that these responsibilities belong to women. So, and these are young people who were polled as well. So I felt a little disturbed by this. And, you know, we all have anecdotal experience and we all meet people who are not like this, especially in this group. But I guess I'd like to follow up with, to ask if you feel there really is substantial change and whether you feel Czech women are ambitious enough. And is that even, I realize that's a provocative question because what does that mean? What are they ambitious for? There's no reason, you know, as Andrea said, being a restaurant owner is probably much more satisfying than being the Chancellor of Germany right now. But still, that's a question, or whether they feel, you know, it's too difficult. So I'll start with you and then we can go back to Andrea.
Okay, I think it would depend really. I have huge hope into the new generations. I don't think they are lost. I don't think the digital world will destroy them. I think it's a lot in our own hands and in their hands. I really have huge hope. And I see a lot of, I mean, enlightened young people around me, much more than if I compare it to the times when I was younger. So the progress, nobody can stop it really. And somebody said it like yesterday or the day before, that for the big change to happen, you don't need to convince 80% of people. It's good enough if you have on your side 30% of people. And I think we are close to that, if not there. I think that the momentum is right. We just have to stay very relevant and support the right things, the right values for our kids. And I don't think it's in like forbidding them to do things. I remember my daughter when she was like 12 and she started to watch YouTubers, and I was kind of, oh, why do you do that? You know, those stupid things. Then I realized that yes, she was watching maybe something for more entertainment, but she had a lot of educational channels in their favorite ones. And then I thought like, okay, it's maybe not so bad. They are just different. And it's in their hand and our hand to help them just orientate. There are great movements, I think, happening right now. And we just need to navigate, you know, not to move to a certain extreme of the movements and so on, but to navigate our future more smoothly around some increasing curve, if you know what I mean. I studied artificial intelligence, so for me, the sinusoid going around that curve makes a lot of sense.
Okay, thank you very, very much, Ivana. I think you're what I might call a moderate. Andrea, what do you think? Do you think that the new generation of Czech women has different values in terms of careers? And do you think that Czech women are, young women are ambitious enough or for fulfilling their desires? Do they push themselves hard enough? Are they too complacent?
Yeah, I think the society is still like, and I understand. Actually, I do it to a certain extent as well, because I cook much more than, let's say, my husband is cooking. Yeah, but we both don't like cooking, so it's like it's not like we enjoy it. But for example, like, my boys can see it. That mainly my grandma, mainly me, mainly my sister. So you know, like they can see it that it's done like that. So and they obviously observe that. Observe it. So it's like that. But what is quite interesting, they have actually very interesting classes, Zoom cooking classes. So they are recently cooking over Zoom from school, and he loves it. And the last Friday there were only 6 boys, no girl. Yeah, so there's definitely a potential, and I'm quite optimistic for the future. I think Czech society has a lot to do, and I think there is a lack of ambition. There is kind of the pressure. Obviously, these 3 years of the maternity leave is a killer, yeah? So I think that's a problem, yeah? So I think it's, if you're 3 years at home, and I understand that women, they like it, but I think it's a problem. So I think that, but on the other hand, we live in the global world, and I have 3 nieces, and they are very independent, they are moving forward. And when you look at them, when we were little, we had this Cinderella waiting for a prince, yeah? Now, look at the Walt Disney, look at this Frozen, yeah? There are 2 very empowered like women. Then look at the Star Wars, yeah? There is like a main character is a woman. So it's just, I think they are not feeded with this, like, and we live in the global world, you know, the world is mixing. So I'm like optimistic for the future. But I think still there is this kind of that, I need to be at home with the kids. I can see it, yeah? Like I had a colleague from New York, and she had a child, and she didn't mind to leave the child with the nanny all day long. I do have a problem. I was driving my son to London and to Paris and to Warsaw just because I wanted to be with him when he was little. Well, she didn't mind, and it's just a little bit of a, you know, like the way how you approach it. And I'm not saying we shouldn't do it, we should, but it's just like that. I think it's very strong in society that you should take, and even I can see it myself that I feel guilty much more than if there is someone from New York or from London when they are not with their kids.
Andrea, you walked right into my next area that I wanted to discuss, which is absolutely fascinating. And by the way, when I had twins at 47 years old, boy twins who they're probably, the first word they probably learned was feminist, and they're also Czech. My husband's Czech, but I can tell you that I took 1 month off, and I remember going to the doctor, and she said, you know, nobody does that here. And I said, that's okay. That's all right. Wait, you know, maybe they will in the future. And that's how I wanted to work it. I think it's about diversity and people finding what's right for them. At the same time, you know, much has been made over Western practices and Czech practices. And I wanted to ask you both, before we go back to barriers again, or challenges, as Ivana said, Andrea, you studied at Harvard, and I'd like to know what you feel, again, this is a generalization, but what you feel Czech women can learn from the West, from Western women. And I hate that expression, Western women. What does that mean? You know, we're west of Austria, but going with the socio-political term of West, okay? Not the geographical term. What can Czech women, do you think, learn from Western women for their own success? And what can Western women learn from Czech women for their own success?
I think I wouldn't go specifically on the women, because I think we can learn as a both women and men. I think Ivana touched on education, yeah, like, and one of our investment, because we really want to support the impact, is into educational groups. So I follow education now a little bit. The problem with the Czech education is that I think it's not maybe even socialistic, it's more like this Austrian-Hungarian empire, unless you know, don't say, yeah. So I have a cousin in New York, and she said that her son said on Wednesday, what day is today? And he said Tuesday. And the teacher said, well, that's pretty close, very good. And the Czech teacher would say, is not that, you know, like, and I think we are like really afraid to make a mistake. And I think both, yeah. And we are like not very good in communicating. And another thing is the communication. So it's just, I think, and there's both for men and women. And I think in the Western world, the people can communicate much better in a way they don't go that much into conflict. They can accept it because they have, through their education, they don't have that much fear. I'll make a mistake. So, and that's why you see in America, the entrepreneurial world is much better than in Europe, because I think Europe is like this. Yeah. So I think that's what I would like to look at, that how to approach the kids, how to criticize them, whether to criticize them, how to praise them. There's a lot of books like that. I like Growth Mindset from Growth and Fixed Mindset. That's a great book. So for that, so I think that's what we can definitely learn from the Western world. But on the other hand, I think Western world became very commercial. Yeah, so I think I see in London, they really care about brands and things like that. Even in New York, you go to the 9/11 museum and you have to pay, which is, I think, ridiculous. Yeah, so I think, and we are here still, we don't care that much about the material world. I see it with my friends and I see it in the office, so the people don't care that much about this commercial day. So I think that's what they can learn from us, yeah. So that is not most important what kind of bag you have and how much it costs. You maybe
I think it's fantastic. As a person in both worlds, I couldn't agree more. Ivana, what can in terms of leadership and success and career, what do you think Czech women can learn from so-called Western women and vice versa? Where do you think? I was really, really grateful for the idea about communication and the good example. So Ivana, what do you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Andrea had very good points. What I would add to that is putting myself first. And I don't mean it in a selfish way. I mean it in the airplane way. You cannot save anybody if you are sinking, if you don't have oxygen. So in that still very supportive and nice way, we still need to put ourselves first. And that's point number one. Point number two, if I'm putting myself first, I need to be able also to communicate that, to say what I need. Now, when we are at work, ask for that position you want. When you are at home, ask for external help, whoever pays that from the family budget. You know, how I was able to actually continue working in Tesco on the board position while I had a small kid. By the way, it was a very interesting situation. I joined the company, in 1 month I was pregnant. Oh my God, not very good. Sounds like obstacle, but I found the best nanny in the world. I mean, she is my love, my daughter's love. We are connected with her family and everything. It is possible. We sometimes think that by outsourcing some of the services, we are not good enough, not good mothers, not good housekeepers, whatever, bullshit, I say. Just make requirements which fit your values and find the right nanny. And it was the best thing I could ever do. And my daughter was happiest baby in the world if she had either me or the nanny or both of us. And it was investment from myself. and I had to say, I accept that she will love some other woman as much as myself. But love multiplies. It does not subtract. So these are small things which we can do for ourselves. And if we say, and if we talk, if we have an open relationship with the most important people in our life, the support team, and those should be the husband, the mother, the mother-in-law, all these people around us, we should be able to tell them and ask them. And it's nothing wrong about that. And again, I will repeat myself, creating the network of other women around us. This is biggest mistake I've ever done. And if I could return something, this would be it. Now I have around me professional women, which are also my friends. We have a very close circle. We don't meet every week. We don't have time for that. Come on. But we meet from time to time. We know we can drop a WhatsApp message, or we will see each other. We have a date already in spring. You know, we know what we are going to do. This is so powerful. This is so powerful. We don't need to have friends only from the school or family. We can create our professional support system who are friends as well. And I would really encourage anybody to do that. That feels gorgeous. However, when we have small kids, it feels like, oh my God, I'm running to work, to home. That's it. I don't have energy for anything else. We need to find the energy, even if it is about asking somebody to take care about kids once a month for me.
Ivana, those were really wonderful points, and I think we could have a whole session on childcare and certainly the views. I'm so glad for what you said, because, and I mean this respectfully, you know, I grew up and all of my friends grew up. My mother was a vice president in the 1970s of a company. We had a housekeeper during the day. We didn't have someone living, but this was like everyone we knew. So when I came here and it was so shocking, I understand it's developing now. And I just want to note that somebody who I absolutely adore, Lenka Semerska, has put in a chat that her experience to find good services like childcare, like this 50 kilometers radius out of Prague, is very, very hard. But that's another conversation, and you know, people really have to be imaginative to find their neighbors, you know, or find their neighbors' kids and watch their own kids. But anyway, Andrea, I wanted to see if we could give some last tips to women in terms of chasing their dreams. What final tip? Andrea mentioned this, Ivana mentioned that the sort of lack of networking that we do and the lack of team building to create our own network and for our careers. As a last tip for entrepreneurs and all women in business, what would you say? What do they need to do to move the mental barriers so that they can chase their dreams, or even find out what those dreams are?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked this question, and also, like, I follow up on both you and Ivana, and also on your previous question, because when I'm thinking about it, like in my past, and I was actually quite lucky, because I was once on one of these awards for the businesswomen, and one of the ladies, and I will even mention the name, Vladka Papirnik, she was a partner or founding partner of legal firm Squire Sanders. So she came, she's originally Czech, but she grew up in America. And she put together a team, like a few ladies, and we meet like regularly. And they helped me so much when I started this new business, yeah. And but you can definitely see her approach to like this female group is completely different than Czech ladies, because she grew up in America. So it's just like, because here we feel like we feel a little bit cautious what other will say, that I am friends with the like him. So, but yes, like one of the important things is just create your support groups, yeah, like a female support groups. I think in statistics we see that women, they tend to get advice from family, which is good, but it's not enough, because the men they have much broader business networks. So we need to create a business network where you get the knowledge, information, advice, different views. So I would say try to get exactly how to. I have friends from the university where to get the help, yeah, like how to where to get the help for my kids, yeah. So there's another help you, yeah. So you don't have to come. So that can help you when you worry or you're afraid or you're not confident, to give you that extra input. And I think it's very important. And when I think about it, like it really helped me. These ladies helped me a lot. Yeah. So and it's important that we do share this with others. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you both very much. I think I actually think if we reverse that, and we have 2 minutes left, so I'm going to sort of wrap up. I think what we really emphasized here are things that I hadn't even thought speaking about, which is that need for networking beyond the family, beyond our existing friends, and really coming together and finding those support networks and making that a priority. So I'm absolutely thrilled that you mentioned that, and that you both mentioned that. And it's so wonderful. What a diverse conversation, really. 3 very different women coming to a lot of the similar conclusions. So I feel that I've been with 2 leaders. And I feel the conversation, I've learned quite a bit about the similarities in the obstacles we face, and also about asking for what we need. So I hope everybody, I have 1 minute, everybody who's finishing this conversation or finishing the session, when they, this week and next week, they will think to themselves, what do I need help with? And how can I ask? And how can I not be ashamed to ask? How can I ask proudly? So I think my husband would argue that I have no shame in this area, but I still think I could ask in a way that's less and more straight, without, feeling afraid and anxious that he's going to say no, because he never does.
Equal payday.